said, this is year 21, and our icon is, of course, Lady Luck. That's why they let me do tours, because I'm a ginger, just like she is. So, basically, Lady Luck is a shape-shifting entity. She can take form in any time period, but she will always have red hair. So that's her distinguishing factor. See? Yep. Now, how many of you guys have played the website games? Oh, okay, cool. Awesome, good. Well, if you play the website games, you kind of know how she relates to every house. If you don't, I'm going to tell you. So, Lady Luck has taken form in different shapes for each character in some of the houses. The Thing, which is based on the new film coming out October 14th, which is the prequel to John Carpenter's The Thing. There's a research assistant named Juliet. She is in a helicopter and she's in Antarctica, and she needs to make it to the tour.The, which is the Norwegian station, but she only has enough gas to just make it there. And there's a horrible storm coming. So she can either make it there, or there's a town nearby where she can land safely, but she won't have gas to get to the tour.The station for a while. So Lady Luck comes on the helicopter, she's the radio, you know, the tower assistant, going, hey, you only have enough fuel to either just make it to the station, or you can land, but you're going to be without fuel for a while. So Juliet, of course, makes the choice to go to the station. Of course, it was the wrong choice because things go horribly wrong in the Thing house, and she becomes the Nightingales house, Blood Prey. Did you guys like that house?
Yeah.
No, we have some yeses, some nos. That house actually, the Nightingales are shapeshifters as well. They've shown up in different types of wars throughout the ages to feed on the dying. Of course, their name probably came from Florence Nightingale. Now, Florence Nightingale, it's funny, she's touted as this big nurse, you know, huge humanitarian. When she went to the front lines of the wars, death tolls actually rose. So I don't know where she got this huge humanitarian thing, but that's probably where the Nightingales came from. So they're shapeshifters. Now, there is one person that enlisted, one American, that enlisted in the British forces during World War I. That's a true historical fact. We made a different person enroll. Our art and design team made Edmund Clark. So if you've been on the website, you've probably seen the little letter. Now, Edmund had a very wealthy family who had a very good growing business here while the war was going on. And they wanted him to stay here. They were like, stay, you know, take over the family business, make lots of money. Well, Edmund saw a poster that said, stay home and support the war effort at home. You know, stay, make money, make supplies for the war to send them off. Then he saw another poster that said, go to war, be patriotic. Lady Luck was on that poster. And like, you know, the full Statue of Liberty garb. That poster was much more alluring to Edmund, so he left and went off to war. And that's where he encountered the Nightingales. Dun, dun, dun. After that, we have HR Blood and Guts, presents Holiday of Horror. Did you guys like that house? Yeah. No. Did you guys like any of the houses?
Yeah.
Okay. HR Blood and Guts is actually our kind of campy house, our fun house. It is based around the story of Larry Kurtzberg, who plays HR Blood and Guts. Now, Larry was a very successful Broadway star back in the 30s, but then things kind of teetered off for him. So in the 70s, he decided to look for work. He got a talent agency. The talent agency, the woman representing him was Lady Luck. Now, she called him and said, hey, we have a job for you. You can be this creature feature host. That's the only thing we have left for you. You can either take that job, or you go without work and we drop you from the agency. It's your choice. Well, if it comes to work or unemployment, most people are going to take the job. So Larry took the job. He actually was pretty successful at first. He produced a lot of holiday horror films to show during his creature feature show. But they didn't go so well after that. John Reynolds, who was his producer and actually makes a little cameo in the house, told him, okay, we got to cut you, your ratings are bad. Well, Larry went a little insane and took the wrath out on John, and as you guys walk through, you guys as well. So Lady Luck was his agent that said, make your choice. Saws and Steam, which is actually another one of my favorites this year. It's the first time we changed a scare zone to a house. I think that house is really effective. If you guys went through it, I really like it. But Saws and Steam, you're walking into the horizon, which you would think is this nice place, and that's how they promote it. The horizon is this beautiful utopia. If you give yourself to the horizon, you will go to essentially heaven. You'll go to this beautiful place. Well, that's all a lie. If you go into the horizon, you're actually going to be chopped up into little pieces so that they can use the water from your body to power their machinery. On the website, there's actually an aptitude test that I think you guys can take, and it's like just silly things. But at the bottom, it says like height, weight, all that stuff. They want to see what your yield is. How much water is in your body that they can take to power their machinery. So your yield kind of depends on your size, your weight. If you're a woman, you actually have about 10% more water in your body than a man. So that's probably why we all get bloated. The person administering the test is actually Lady Luck. She administers the test to a citizen. That's what they're called. All the people in the Saws and Steam universe, because it's in a parallel universe, are called citizens. So if you enter that house, you are a citizen. She's the one administering the test. Now, that house is loosely based on the movie Logan's Run. So you have a choice to either go there on your own, your free will, just choose to go. But by the age of 30, if you don't go, you're going to go anyways. You're going to meet the machine by the age of 30. There are a few people that have made it past the age of 30. They're known as the elite, because of course you have to have somebody to tell all the little worker bees what to do. So the elite are the people telling you if you're going to go or stay, or if you get to become an elite, you're lucky. I will talk about Nevermore in a minute. The in-between, did you guys like that? I think that house is very effective as a 3D house, because most of the time in the past, our 3D houses have been color, color, color. This house is a lot of black with splashes of color, and the demons that are in that house are scary as crap. I will never walk through that house again because I have nightmares. I love it. It's a really effective house, but it's a crap house. The in-between, there are two students, Lewis and Bubba. Who do you think is the smarter of the two? Lewis is the teacher's assistant. He actually helps the professor, who is going to take the guise of Lady Luck, and he has the keys to her cabinet with all of her test keys. Bubba is also in the class, not doing so well. So Lewis decides to help out his roommate, and they go to the cabinet, and they find the test keys, but they also find this very ancient relic, this summoning board, kind of like a Ouija board, except older. So they say, hey, who needs the test keys? Look at this cool thing. We could probably make some money, we could play around with this, we could probably impress some girls with this. So they take the summoning board. They take it back to their dorm room, and the teacher calls, Lady Luck calls and says, hey, you have a choice. You can either bring this back, or you can play with it, but it's really dangerous. It's your choice. Of course, they're college frat boys, so they don't really care if it's dangerous, because what does that word even mean? So they invite some women over, and they start playing with it, and that board opens up a portal to another realm. Now, the realm that they go into is haunted with demons, so everything in that house is a demon form, and they get stuck in there. Now, when that happens, when that portal opens, basically what happens is everything surrounding that portal and that board becomes burnt and charred. So the last room, if you walk through it, you'll notice it's kind of black and looks like it's been burnt or been through a fire. That's why. So I'm going to talk about Lady Luck connections when we get to the other three houses. But Lady Luck herself is kind of based on Fortuna, who was the Roman goddess. She had two faces. And that's why Our Lady Luck has two faces. There's the very nice, pretty, alluring face, and then there's the not so nice, pretty, alluring face. There's the pretty gross face, which if you walked through her scare zone, then you saw both versions. The ugly version, of course, is on the ground. The pretty version is up high because we don't want drama. Now, she is usually depicted historically with the Wheel of Fortune, which the Wheel of Fortune kind of comes a lot with gambling. That's why a lot of like the roulette and all those things are around. Now the Wheel of Fortune is mostly used in medieval times. It's kind of shown to tell you that, guess what, you're not always going to win. There are 4 positions on the wheel. The one, I'm sorry, I always get mixed up with my left and my right. The one on the right-hand side, so this side, is I will reign. So you've got an ambition and you'll make it there. The one on the top is I reign. So you've made it, you are at the top, woohoo! Over here on the left is I have reigned, so you actually accomplished your goal. And the one on the very bottom is the worst, and it's I have no kingdom. So basically, you've reigned. Most kings, when they've reigned, they're still considered a king. The president is the same way. America, you know, he's still Mr. President, even though he's not the current president. But on the bottom, I have no kingdom means you're out. Somebody just told you you're done, no more, it's over for you. So that would spin, and wherever it landed, that was your lot in life. So she's often depicted with that. Another big marketing thing we've used this year is this Ace of Spades. Have you guys seen the spade? The spade is considered the highest card in the deck, Ace of Spades. It's also called the death card. Now it's called that because during times of war, they actually usually litter aces of spades among the dead. During the Vietnam War, American soldiers would actually put the ace of spades in the Vietnam soldiers' mouth when they were dead, because they thought that the Vietnamese thought it was a sign of bad luck. The company Bicycle that makes playing cards, if you go to playing with Bicycle, they actually manufacture just decks of ace of spades for the military for times of war, so that if they wanted to, like, you know, throw them out in the battlefield, they don't have to pick out the aces and buy lots of cards. They just have a deck ready to go. So it's pretty interesting. Are you guys ready to get this going?
Okay. All right. This is Nevermore, The Madness of Poe, based on, of course, Edgar Allan Poe. Now, Edgar Allan Poe was adopted. He had parents, both of them died. So he was taken in by the Allan family. So he was born Edgar Poe. He was taken in by the Allan family. He was never officially adopted by them. They were kind of his foster parents, but he had a very good bond with them, so he took on their last name, so he became Edgar Allan Poe. Now, he is the first American writer to try and make his living on writing alone. He never did anything else. He never had a side job. He just wrote. He wrote poems, short stories. He wrote what is considered to be the first detective short story. He's kind of credited with that. He moved about the country. He tried going to West Point, which is the military school, but he flunked out because he liked to drink a lot. So he moved back to Baltimore, and at the age of 26, he married his 13-year-old cousin, Virginia. That was okay back in those days. Virginia Clem actually suffered from consumption. It's also known as tuberculosis, and she died at a very young age. That's what they say influenced a lot of Edgar Allan Poe's works, was her death. So Virginia will make an appearance in this house, which I'll tell you about later, but that's very important. Now, the weird thing is, on his death, which was October 7th, 1849, on the 6th, he was found drunk out of his mind in somebody else's clothes in the streets, babbling just a random name. He kept saying Reynolds, Reynolds. Nobody ever knew what that meant, but they just assumed that he had gone mad, and that's what killed him. He actually still to this day does not have a cause of death listed, so we can only assume he went crazy, which is why this house is called Nevermore, The Madness of Poe. Now, Busch Gardens, right down the street, also has an Edgar Allan Poe house. This house has been in the works for 3 years. So we've had it on the back burner for 3 years, so it wasn't like we heard, oh, Busch Gardens is doing a house, let's do one too! It just happened to fit with the event this year. Now, like I said, Poe liked to move around a lot. He failed out of West Point, which was in New York. He had a choice to make. He could go to Boston, or he could go to Baltimore. Baltimore was where he had some family and some money, so he wouldn't have to work as hard to make a living. The person selling him the ticket was Lady Luck. So he decided to go to Baltimore, made the wrong choice, married Virginia, she died, he went crazy, etc., etc. Zombies this year. This house is based on The Fog, John Carpenter's The Fog. How many people have seen that movie? Oh, a couple, yay, okay. It's a really fantastic film. I rewatched it the other night. But in The Fog, a town called Antonio Bay is being, their revenge is being sought by a group of people that were sunk to the bottom of the ocean because the person manning the lighthouse left because they heard a ship full of lepers was coming in. And instead of having the leprosy upon their town, they turned off the light of the lighthouse and they sank. So 100 years later, those people are pretty mad, so they're coming back after the inhabitants of Antonio Bay. The people in this, the Forsaken in this, are supposed to be kind of like that. Oh, here's Mark. This house, although based on the fog, has a different backstory. Everybody knows Christopher Columbus, right? Yeah. Yes. He sailed the ocean in 1492 with the Nina the Pinta and the Santa Maria. Well, little known is he had a fourth ship in his fleet. It was called the Philippa Muniz. It was captained by Antonio Cabot. Antonio Cabot and Christopher Columbus were big rivals. Well, they went to Queen Isabella, who actually commissioned the fleet, and said, hey, I want to be the leader. No, I want to be the leader. They were basically like children. And Queen Isabella, in the guise of Lady Luck in the guise of Queen Isabella, offered Antonio Cabot a choice. Heads or tails, we're going to flip a coin. Whoever wins gets to be the commander of the fleet. Antonio chose heads, it landed tails, so Christopher Columbus was the commander. So they set off to sea. As they did that, Antonio Cabot and his crew got really angry because they felt that they should be in charge. They should be the ones with all the fame and the glory. So they decided to mutiny against Christopher Columbus and his ships. Well, the three other ships got wind of this. I don't know why one ship would think they could take down three, but the three ships got together and mutinied against the Philippa Muniz. Sank it to the bottom of the ocean, signed a pact in blood that they would never speak of them, so they were forsaken. It's 100 years later, it's 1592, and a huge squall has gone off and carried the ship from the bottom of the sea and thrown it onto this Spanish fort that you're now standing in. Your current is Winter's Night, the haunting of Hawthorne Cemetery. There was Jonathan Hawthorne and there was Elizabeth Hawthorne, and they were betrothed to be married. This old spinster woman, Lady Luck, showed up and offered them 2 plots of land to build their future home. Jonathan chose the wrong plot of land. Elizabeth became sick, died in 1831. Jonathan built this memorial garden, which soon turned into a cemetery. Now, while Elizabeth was sick, regular doctors weren't working for her. She went to every doctor that she could. So Jonathan got kind of fed up with doctors, and he brought in somebody that did a lot with potions, kind of more like a witch doctor type person. He brought him in, and Elizabeth still died, but when he embalmed her, this man, her soul could not rest. So whatever fluid or whatever concoction he used to embalm her, her soul could not rest. And her spirit has brought back other spirits in this cemetery. Now that man that was helping Elizabeth had the last name Trumbull. Malcolm Trumbull is our caretaker here and our gravedigger, and you will see him in this house. He is the one that actually makes the blue lantern light. Now the blue light, for whatever reason, is made out of this special oil, and it keeps all the spirits inside the cemetery. So Elizabeth, as well as all the spirits she is bringing back with her, are kept inside by these blue lanterns. They only come out one night a year, and you happen to be entering